You guys are just in a demonic cult that wants to practice polygamy, right?
Yeah,
that's why you're Latter-day Saints. Because you want to be the God of your own planet one day?
And a ton of wives.
There you go. That's Mormonism, right? So rather than me trying to convince you that you're not a Christian, or an evangelical trying to convince you you're not a Christian, I'd like each of you to take the opportunity to convince me that you are. Hello, Saints. My name is Jeff. I'm a pastor in Utah, exploring everything I can about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Recently, I'm seeing a flood of Latter-day Saint voices, even of the younger generation, saying, hey, we want to be involved in this conversation. And I wanted to have a conversation with a couple of those newcomers, if it's okay for me to call you guys that, because I've got Travis and Christian here from the YouTube channel Holy Rebellion, right?
That's right.
That's
us.
You guys are part of, in my opinion, the New Wave. Do you identify as being part of the New Wave?
I like to think we're a little more punk rock than the New Wave.
That's probably fair to say. That we're a year and a half into this, so we're pretty new into this.
And I want to have a conversation about what is compelling sort of the flood of new Latter-day Saint voices into this space, and how you feel that conversation, that climate, is currently contributing, or maybe even not, to the relationship between Protestant evangelicals and Latter-day Saints. Because I don't know what you've experienced, but this view that has persisted for a long time, even though it might be reaching a somewhat of a boiling point right now, that evangelicals hate Latter-day Saints. Like that's a common sense that I think a lot of church members have.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we actually believe that we can disagree and still be friends, which is kind of a controversial
It's a novel,
it's a radical idea.
Novel concept.
Yeah, but if you look at across any dividing line, politics is a good, right? You can't be friends with somebody who disagrees with you on some major political issue,
right?
Which is just crazy. You can absolutely still be friends, and people cut off their families. And religion is very similar. That if we disagree, the zeitgeist is, well, then I can't talk to you. We can't be friends, or you're my enemy. Even.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that we don't agree. So maybe by the end of this video, we'll be breaking chairs over each other.
Yeah.
We'll just find out.
Maybe. It's per all of our natures to do so.
Yeah. The tribalism that exists when it comes to any ideology is naturally going to form lines of distinction, and everybody's going to have a different way that they stand on that line of distinction. And I will concede to the fact that Protestants, very much so, when they're on that line of distinction, will say, and anybody on the other side of the line, they're wrong, and they're, probably condemned, and we need to save them. Whereas I don't necessarily get that sense from Latter-day Saints just across the board. A lot of Latter-day Saints will stand on the line of distinction of the Restoration or the One True Church, but be like, there are a lot of God-loving people, or maybe even Jesus-following people, who have not accepted the restored gospel, but we believe in the authenticity of their desire to follow Jesus. Is that something, that's what I've experienced.
And I'm so happy you have. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate per our experience, is that we would say, hey, if you don't want to join my church, if you don't want to get baptized, Jeff, that's okay. Let's do what we can to build the kingdom together. Mm-hmm. And we do, right, from our perspective, because we disagree for a reason, right? We think we're right in certain areas, you think you're right. Mm-hmm. So we do think that we have things that we could add to what you have. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a little bit of a different experience, I think, standing on that line you talked about.
And to be fair to Protestants here, the stakes are a little bit different as well. Because,
yes,
that's true.
Right,
yeah.
If we don't accept the Trinity, we're going to hell, right? And so I would think it comes from a place of love where we don't want you guys to go to hell, so come and accept this. Where from our position, if you're on the other side of the line, it's Jesus saves you still, and to different degrees, but you're still going to be in a wonderful degree of heaven, right? So it's a little bit different that way.
Yeah, there's definitely a different level of urgency.
Yeah.
Because of that binary sort of heaven-hell concept in the Protestant world, as opposed to the LDS church. Is like, we're all learning, we're all trying to do the best we can with what we're experiencing, but whether it's in this life or the next, everyone will be given sort of an opportunity to make that decision. So I get that for sure. That said, if I can just speak a little more self-reflectively, it does bug me that the evangelical message has been so in a sense, it in a lot of times comes across very fear-driven, like you're going to go to hell. Let's start there.
Yeah, that's actually that's sentence one in most cases.
Yeah.
In the comment section online, to be fair.
Yeah, like you're a dirty, rotten sinner, as we all are.
Or in conversations like this.
Sure.
We were in Vegas, and the first line in my conversation in Vegas was, Mormons unfortunately aren't a part of the body of Christ, and you are going to hell.
Yeah.
That was the first line of the
all right.
thing. It was like,
Coming in hot. Here we go. Where do we go from here? Yeah. But when we lead with that, I mean, that'd be like going on a first date with a girl and be like, you're going to be single for the rest of your life unless this date goes well. Right?
There's a lot of pressure on that date.
There is a lot of pressure. So, and where that comes from for us is, I think there's a desire to say, like, we need a savior.
Yeah.
Which is, I think we would all agree with. I don't know if I love that framing, though. And I think there's maybe a lot of evangelicals who'd probably disagree with me, but I don't even love framing sermons or an invitation at church around, like, you're going to die and go to hell, so you better accept Jesus. Because then that motivation is fear motivated, as opposed to the approach that I prefer is like, can you sense that there's something that's not adding up in your existence? Like, do you sense some sort of emptiness or a lack of meaning or purpose? And you've searched in a lot of other areas and it just hasn't satisfied? Well, I strongly believe that we are created to be in a reconciled relationship with God through his son, Jesus, who loves you. So I believe that, and there's a guy, an ancient philosopher, who said there's a Jesus-shaped hole in everyone's heart. And we shove a lot of things in that place, that void, to try to satisfy. And the reason why it doesn't, because only Jesus can. Like, and he loves you and he's inviting you freely.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's more of, in my opinion, even it resonates more with my experience, because as a non-believer, as I would put it, as someone who hasn't decided to follow Jesus, I don't know if I'm constantly contemplating, like, if I die, I'm probably going to burn in hell. It's more of like, meaning is eluding me. Purpose is eluding me. Joy and peace and happiness is eluding me.
Yeah.
Whether it's my job or this hobby or this relationship, it's when we experience Jesus as the one who brings life, that abundant life into us, that is the true invitation. Not like, you better be afraid of going to hell. Because if you're not scared enough, then you might be hosed.
Right.
So, I don't know. That's also, I'm kind of soapboxing a little bit, but that is an area where I wish, at least online, evangelicals would lead the conversation differently. We also see a lot of Latter-day Saints coming into this space, though, almost saying, well, you can't push us around anymore, is kind of a sense that I'm getting. Are there ways in which Latter-day Saints can lead the conversation, maybe even online, that you wish they would lead the conversation differently?
Yeah, I would say, first and foremost, I think that for us, it's like a principle of life, I think, but just to understand that everybody is like the protagonist in their own story. And so to assume good intentions out of other people. And I think that is something that we're like chronically bad at. We just want to assume the worst in people. And so for us, as we've created content, sort of our bread and butter has been to do response videos to those who are making claims against the church, and we'll provide rebuttals. And we had a rule for ourselves that we weren't allowed to be defensive. We were only allowed to defend. And we weren't allowed to, what was the word that we would use? We weren't allowed to dismantle the opponent. We were only allowed to dismantle arguments. And so we had that rule for each other that we weren't allowed. We had to be peacemakers, which is tricky to do sometimes.
It's so tricky,
It's
but that's
so
so
hard.
mature. Like, you basically said, we're not going to ad hoc this.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to stay true to the principles that we stand by without dismantling the person.
Right. And it was one of those things that I would say it still requires so much practice and intentionality from us, but it's possible. Like, it's possible to view other people that way, and it's possible to respond in a way that assumes the best out of them, and to respond to their ideas, not attacking the person.
Yeah. What are some of the common things that evangelical will bring into a conversation that you experience as them trying to dismantle you as a person? It's okay. I'm asking. You can tell me.
No, I have thoughts. I just want to let Christian start.
You asked this off screen, but maybe I can answer now. What was your question? It was like, what if I could ask one thing of Protestants?
Yeah. So if this is like a wish list thing, if you could request one thing for all evangelicals that are creating content online, like, hey, can you fill in the blank?
Yeah.
What would that be?
Yeah, I think that fits right here, is that I whether you believe me or not, I have had personal experiences with God, with the creator of the universe, that have just touched me to my core and changed who I am as a person and who I want to be and reoriented my entire being. That happened to me. And when I share that experience with Protestants, it's, oh yeah, that was the devil. And I just think, come on, guys. If that were actually true, if that were the reality, then I don't believe in God. If the devil has the power to do that to me, to orient my life to worship Jesus Christ, even if it's the wrong Jesus Christ from a different perspective, but to love my wife, to try to be a good father to my children, to serve my neighbors, to be an upstanding person in society, that's what that presence pulls me to do. And if that's the devil, I can't believe there's a God. And so the idea that somebody else's personal experience is false because it doesn't agree with my worldview, I think is incredibly arrogant. And maybe ignorant. And maybe they're right. Maybe that isn't God. But I don't know. It's really offensive to me to take those, I would say, sacred experiences and just kind of throw them in the dirt like that.
So what I'm hearing you say, I think, is really important, because there are going to be important doctrinal things that we need to just put out there and say, I think you're wrong about this. But we can more objectively, almost empirically, examine those things together, because they do trace back to maybe a revelation that Joseph Smith had or a decision made at a council in the 4th century. But when it comes to my experiences and what I've walked through and in my desire to follow Jesus, you're crossing a line there. Is that what I'm hearing you saying? That you're in some way going to discredit my experiences just because you disagree with me on
when
a
you
doctrinal.
Disagree and then invalidate the personal experiences I've had, you lost me. I don't want to be a part of that conversation, and I don't want to have any part in what you're selling. Like, I'm just uninterested in, if that's the gospel, I don't want any part of it.
So that brings me to this video that I saw you post. I know it's a clip from a longer video that I didn't watch, so forgive me if there's more context.
No,
here.
it's okay. I just gave you the context, so we're ready. Yeah.
Good. So I want to watch this and just kind of unpack this a little bit, because I thought you brought up some really thought-provoking perspectives here.
You ready to get uncomfortable with me for just a minute? Imagine that 8 out of every 10 videos across social media and our interfaith unit at BYU all repeated these exact same tropes. Everything that I'm about to say right now is just a demonstration of taking half-truths, out-of-context statements, and intentionally painting them in a bad light. I'm going to take items and frame them as ugly as I possibly can, and I want you to feel what it feels like. Are you ready? Here's the truth about those evangelicals. Martin Luther single-handedly rewrote Christianity, threw out books of the Bible, and then taught that no one should add or take away from the Bible. Insert Revelations 22:18-19 here. What's worse, he did it holding zero apostolic authority. He did things that only one holding apostolic authority can do. So not only was he wrong, he was a deceiver and demonic, one who we were warned of in Galatians 1:8. Beyond that, Martin Luther said crazy things that showed his true beliefs about Jesus Christ. He says, I have greater confidence in my wife and my pupils than I have in Christ. So you have a false apostle showing his true colors. No wonder his cult doesn't show the real Jesus. When a movement starts with a false apostle, it gets even worse from there. When America tore itself apart over slavery, whose pulpits were preaching that slavery was God's will? Not surprising then that evangelicals are all secretly racist. Okay, stop. That was disgusting, wasn't it? Is your blood boiling a bit? If so, pause the video and take a moment to cool down. I don't blame you. I took things that I found on the internet. It's not hard to do. It only took me about 12 seconds to do the search. What I found was ugly, out of context, and weird. But as one who is trying to paint an evangelical in a poor light, boy, is that easy. I could find hours and hours worth of smear campaign material in less than 10 minutes of research. Crafting that video as if it were fact under the pretense to protect my people from their evangelical neighbors would be cruel, dishonest, and it would be difficult for me to sleep at night. But that style of video aimed at members of the Church of Jesus Christ, using whatever ammo can be found in the slimy abyss of the internet, doesn't only exist. That type of video is produced and reproduced 1,000 times over. Evangelical kids, teenagers, and adults consume it at church, on Broadway, on YouTube, and now on Hulu. The result is obvious. If this was what you were consuming, you'd grow up laughing about, mocking, and despising the group you were indoctrinated to despise. If this were common practice in the Church of Jesus Christ, how would members of the Church of Jesus Christ feel about evangelicals? To use Pew Research language, members of the Church of Jesus Christ would have a very unfavorable view of evangelical. But as disciples of Jesus Christ, we're supposed to be different. Come and see who we really are.
So I thought that was really well done. A lot of thought-provoking.
Thank you. I was so careful to have
Statements in
enough content at the beginning.
Dude,
of
there was a
this is
huge
only-
warning label.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
warning label.
Yeah. Well, there are a few things that that jumped out at me there. First of all, I'm hearing you express how hurtful it is when you don't even feel like you're being given a fair shot, a fair chance. People walk in with the sensationalized views of the LDS faith, and at that point, not just label you, but dismiss and discard you. That's very, I might even say, painful and frustrating for a lot of Latter-day Saints. That's what I'm gathering from that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can imagine the experience that what if instead of talking about Christ or your faith, all I was interested in talking about was that thing that Martin Luther said about the Jews. Mm-hmm. It's like, what are we even talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it definitely is. It feels as though we're getting bombarded with information, and we're willing to own all of our history and all of that, right? I'm not saying that, but we're bombarded by all of these topics when I just want to wipe it away and say, like, but can we talk about the purpose of life for a minute? You know what I mean?
Yeah, can we reset here?
Yeah.
Declutter the conversation. I will say one thing that is different for Latter-day Saints versus Protestants is you, I think, feel much more connected to Joseph Smith than we do to Martin Luther.
Sure.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I think Martin Luther did something important, but he seems very kind of distant. I mean, I know about him. I read biographies.
Yeah. It's not one-to-one for sure.
Not one-to-one. Whereas you guys, like Joseph Smith, is something that is someone who, I remember the very first time I toured Nauvoo, Illinois, when I didn't even know what the LDS church was. And they were like, our prophet and seer, Joseph Smith, da, 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 da. I'm like, what?
Where am I?
Like, what is this? So
Yeah.
There's a reverence, not a worship, but a reverence for Joseph Smith that I think might make any shots taken at Martin Luther. I actually, like, if you don't like Martin Luther, okay, like
Sure. Yeah.
I actually don't like him for some things that he did. He shouldn't have tried to take James out of the Bible, and I hated his anti-Semitic views. I could probably build a caricature that would be much more hurtful to us.
You probably could.
Maybe we could
yeah.
talk offline.
No, it's okay. That'll
So that we
we'll
can
do.
use it later.
Right, yeah. No, but I think that was point well made, though. Like, maybe that makes a point even better, is you're trying to dismiss me over something that is not central to what I identify with in my faith,
That's exactly it.
as opposed to this is where my faith
Yeah.
is central.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so often, like there are actually, there's very little dogma in our faith, and it's like it's that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. He lived and died and was resurrected, and continues to call prophets and make covenants with his kids. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the core of our faith. And then what happens is, when people talk about us, learn about us, they pick these things out here and they say, this is what you believe. This is the central piece, and this is why you're crazy. And I'm just like, this is it. You can believe all these things. It really doesn't matter, because we have so little dogma, and it's this right here.
You're saying something that's really important right now, because a lot of people have asked me, like, why are you taking the posture that you're taking on Hello Saints? I've been being asked this for 4 or 5 years. And the suspicious people, which I understand why people might not trust me.
Yeah,
there hasn't been a lot of productive trust-building activity between Protestants and Latter-day Saints in the past 200 years.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Hans Mill. But it makes sense. I get it. Some people just aren't going to trust me. It doesn't matter what I say. They're like, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay. But I think one of the reasons why, for me personally, I've taken the approach that I take is because I observed pretty early on in the process that when it comes to just engaging with Latter-day Saints, one, they are more, like, I'm talking about you like you're not in the room. You guys are more willing to have hard conversations than I think people realize. Like, the characterization that I had of Latter-day Saints is you're just a bunch of mouth breathers that do what the prophet says. It's literally what people would say to me.
Dang.
Like, they don't think for themselves.
Yeah.
And then I started having conversations, and it's like, I passionately love Jesus. I also have a passionate, devotion to my faith and my culture and my background, because it's tied into my family and it's tied into my heritage. And I read the scriptures and I think about the scriptures and I want to like grow in my relationship with the Lord. Like, that is not what I was told. So there's like so much more to converse about. Going back to even your motivation to start what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, if we want to talk about Jesus, there's a lot to talk about here. So that was one misconception that right off the bat, I'm like, oh, they're willing to go there. And also, Latter-day Saints don't really have an interest in just bashing one another. I mean, it's almost unanimous. It's like 95% of Latter-day Saints that I've engaged with, they don't want to go toe to toe and be like, well, by the end of this conversation, I'm going to prove why you're wrong and why I'm right. And I'm going to drop the mic, own you, and
slam dunk.
Go to bed feeling great. Like, that's just not how Latter-day Saints are wired. If anything, Latter-day Saints are going to be like, I think I'm going to push away from the conversation. Like, we were having a conversation about your missions that you served before we started recording. And there were certain people that very early in the conversation, like, we're not going to agree to disagree here. Like, they just want to disagree. You were ready to leave pretty quickly. You didn't feel the need to slug it out with them.
Yeah, pretty quick. And I would say that's true for most Latter-day Saint missionaries. Some, depending on where you serve. Like, if you're in the Bible Belt, like, that's going to be your mission, But pretty quickly you learn. I shouldn't say pretty quickly. Some might take 2 years to learn this. But,
some might not learn it.
Learn it. But you learn pretty quickly that like those conversations just aren't productive. You might like score a point on your ego if you win. If you lose, it's going to strike your ego and you're going to study. But like no one, neither you or your opponent, are taking a step closer to Christ. In my opinion. And I think so. Most Latter-day Saint missionaries learn like, okay, that's not a very productive use of my time. I'm just going to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was not what I was expecting. When you see these guys going door to door with their name tags on, I mean, they're literally in a uniform, like either ready to clean your carpet or like apologetics you into the ground as to why your evangelical faith is false and you need to join the Mormon church. My perception was way off there.
Yeah, which is fascinating. I love hearing you say that because you know this, but many might not, that Latter-day Saints before their mission are trained zero on apologetics. Not a lick, right? Like, and so to hear that might mean that the person opening the door is expecting an apologetic conversation. But as the missionary, you're like, I just wanted to tell you about a guy named Joseph Smith in a new book. I don't know. Yeah.
That's so important. And I've said this ad nauseum on the channel. Latter-day Saint missionaries are not trained apologists.
Right.
Can I add something to my wish list?
Yes. You get 3 wishes.
The missionaries that you see getting dunked on online are 18 and you don't score any points. I think you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Please leave them alone. They're just kids doing their best to serve Jesus. They don't need to be dunked on.
And the way that I've learned, and that my good friend Kurt Frankum has been like my training wheels this entire project for me, or this entire process for me. He has a podcast called Leading Saints, and he's providing resources for bishops and people operating within their callings. He said it's probably more accurate to look at Latter-day Saint missionaries as tour guides. And if you go to Boston or if you go to Washington, D.C., you can either do a self-guided tour on your own, but if you want someone to give you a tour, they'll do it. They're not necessarily going to be like a PhD from, Harvard in American history. But they'll be able to answer some of your questions if you're interested in learning more. But they're not going to like argue the Constitution with you.
Right.
So like same with Latter-day Saint missionaries. They're more tour guides that say, if you're interested, I will give you a tour of the restoration. If not, that's fine. Like you're on your self-guided tour, like you go your way.
That's a great way to look at it.
I think it's a great way to look at it. And in tandem with that, there's also this like beautiful spirit about a mission where like something that we sort of tell ourselves and each other, and when you put that name tag on, like we really do believe that we are representatives of Jesus Christ. Yeah. And that is something that we feel, and something that when I was a missionary, it was like I expected miracles every day as that representative. And so in one sense, these 18 to 19-year-olds are going to view themselves in that light, like expecting miracles, expecting to witness the power of God that day. And in another way, they're 18. They were in high school like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
You know, and they're going to still be 18.
Yeah.
Even though they're trying to rise to that level of, I don't know, maturity.
It's actually an incredible mantle.
It's an
it's
incredible
like
mantle
the
to carry.
highest mantle you could place on an 18-year-old. And we don't always do a good job, but we really strive to
And it's so
represent the Lord.
formative for the
Yeah.
missionaries,
Yeah.
just personally.
Foundation for the rest of my life.
I want to send my daughter on a mission.
Yeah, send her over.
I can't. She hasn't been baptized into the LDS church.
It's not too late.
I've talked to a couple mission presidents. I'm like,
You want to just take a Protestant?
kind of like a guest missionary. Like, I feel like she could use 2 years in Honduras.
Yeah, I bet they let her on HXP. Have you heard of HXP?
No.
That's really, really neat.
You know what FSY is?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but they travel.
She chooses a country she wants to go to. They go and like they'll build a house or something.
Yeah, but how long is that?
3 weeks. So
Okay. Well, we
about
do that
18
too.
months.
But those are mission
Yeah, you
trips
have
for
your own,
us.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying like 2 years away.
Yeah.
You only talk to mom on Mother's Day. Which has changed.
You want to go back to our
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid there's only one way for her to do that. But
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
guess we'll
We're your
move
guys,
on.
though, if you want to make that happen.
like, we're going to get them. I know that you guys, the inn is with the family. I get it.
Yeah.
You
And
wanna
I was
take
going to say,
it
yeah, one thing that, speaking, the missionaries reminded me of this, something that I think to give Protestants, and I would even like throw Catholics, just like the mainstream Christians, to give credit, like there might be a reason that there's an unfavorable view of us is we come knocking on your door.
Sure.
And we're presenting you something that is different from what you have. And so we might say things like, hey, Jesus Christ wants you to follow him. And as a Protestant, you say, great, I already am.
Right.
Jesus Christ wants you to get baptized. And you say, I already did.
1997.
Yeah, right. And so like so I can comprehend that from a Protestant or evangelical view that there's that aspect. And then to build on top of that, you're saying, okay, but you're telling me that you're following Jesus Christ, but everything I'm seeing on the internet is telling me something else. And there are very real distinctions in attributes we might prescribe to Jesus Christ,
Sure,
right?
sure.
So there are real differences. And so as one goes and seeks out those differences, they're going to go online. And what, circling back to where we started, there's just an abundance of slime on the internet
Yeah.
that is just full of misrepresentations of every faith, right? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
listen to a Catholic describe the 10 things that makes Martin Luther evil.
Yeah.
It's like, I wouldn't recommend that you learn about Protestantism that way.
Somebody released a video on me 3 or 4 years ago.
About you?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of them out there. But it was my face and on the thumbnail, and it said racist.
Oh, no.
Boy.
And I was like, what? And then I went and
You have to go find out why you're
clicked on
racist,
it.
obviously.
Yeah, 'cause I grew up in St. Louis. You don't call me racist. We're very sensitive about that. It's because Martin Luther was a bit anti-Semitic. So since I'm a Protestant,
Protestant.
I must be a racist.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not following the logic on that one. But we do that. We try to, how can I
Yeah.
draw the most obnoxious caricature of this faith
That's
group?
such a good way to say it. I think
is.
that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
because you guys are just in a demonic cult that wants to
Right.
practice polygamy, right?
Yeah,
That's
we
why
get
you're
our-
allowed to say
and we
because
get our
you want to be the god of your own planet one
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
And a ton of wives.
Yeah, there you go. That's Mormonism, right? It's like, no, that is
Easy.
going to Six Flags and somebody drawing you with a giant head and like huge eyes and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
tiny body. It's like, okay, there's certain things in there that I see where you're pulling from, but no, that doesn't define me or my faith.
Yeah.
Okay, so some people might wonder why I'm talking to two guys who are part of a content creation platform that they call the Holy Rebellion, if we're wanting to have constructive conversation. Because for me, rebellion, I think of like, I don't know, Star Wars or something, the
Yeah.
Rebel Alliance.
Oh,
It's a
Yeah.
little spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we're rebels and we're not going to take it anymore. But you guys tell me, what is behind that name and how does it connect to even the idea that you had to get into the content creation space in the first place?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago now that Christian and I just became buddies, and we were eating at In-N-Out, and Christian taught me this idea, this philosophy that the thing that receives the majority of your time, attention, and energy is the thing that you worship. And there can only be one thing in your life that you're worshiping. And so we sort of over this idea that, oh man, you can only worship one thing, and all of us ought to be worshiping Jesus Christ. He is the power, the source of all good, and we ought to be worshiping him, and your life will be better, in essence. And so the idea of the Holy Rebellion, that name, was that far more rebellious than leaving Christianity to join the world and to drink or smoke or whatever. We typically attach those ideas with being a rebel. Our idea was it's actually far more rebellious to rebel against the world and choose to follow Christ, to choose to keep his commandments, to choose to abstain from certain things that the world might view as popular. And so it's not a worldly rebellion, but it's a holy rebellion. And we got started actually not even disclosing that we were Latter-day Saints. We just wanted to talk to people who shared a faith in Jesus Christ.
Which I will say, everything that you just explained is that motivation. I mean, had you not told me you were Latter-day Saints, I would have thought, oh, these are two evangelical kids that you're speaking my language to say
we
that.
could pass for Christians.
Yeah. You could pass for evangelicals. No, but I've preached sermons on that. I'm like, we are created to worship. Like a fish is created to swim in water, we are created to worship. The question is, what are you worshiping, or who are you worshiping?
Yeah.
And so that instinct is something that I relate to, that I resonate with, which is actually a very beautiful thing for two, young dudes who are wanting to make sure their life has meaning and purpose to aspire toward. So you started this YouTube channel, or Instagram or TikTok. Where did it start?
Yeah, actually, it was all of it. We were having these conversations, and people were actually really excited to talk with us and the question format was just what are you doing to worship Jesus Christ in your life, and how is that reflected? What are you seeing that causes in your life? And we had great conversations with mostly Protestants and some Catholics, and I thought they were really good. I had a good time doing it, and nobody cared and nobody watched it. So it just didn't go anywhere. And Travis and I, we just had this desire to really reach people. And so really at the same time, in separate places, I went to the temple as the Mormons do when we're looking for guidance. I went to the temple and I was just like, hey, Heavenly Father, we want to spread Jesus Christ. What's a better way we could do this? And I opened the scriptures that fell to the story of Ammon in the Book of Mormon, where he is sent by the king to protect the flock, and then robbers come, and so he ends up gathering and defending the flocks of the king. And as I read that, it just struck me like lightning that we need to, whatever that means, be in a position where we can gather and defend the flocks of the king. And so as we, being online for the first time, really, we noticed that there was that scenario was happening online, where people would come and attack the church, our faith, directly.
Specifically, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yep.
So in your mind, that's the flock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be the flock. And so in my mind, that is what you need to do. And so we kind of took it a different direction and started diving more into, I would say, defending our faith online, pushing back a little bit.
Yeah, what we saw, we don't have any data on this, but what it feels like to us is that 9 out of every 10 videos that talks about us is negative towards us, and from our perspective is misrepresentative of us. And so we felt the need to hold up a shield, if you will, where before our intent was like open arms, like come on, let's do it. Yeah. And then we were almost pulled this direction based on what we experienced.
So what were you experiencing even prior to you deciding let's protect the flock and defend our beliefs? What would you experience when you would have these Christ-centered conversations with Protestants or Catholics, and then they find out you're members of the LDS Church?
They didn't find out. We actually didn't tell them. Okay. We just had these conversations. They were great conversations, and
Did you feel like you had to hide that you were a Latter-day Saint?
Almost, yes, because it would have changed the conversation. Yeah. I wasn't trying to be deceptive. I just wanted to talk about Jesus without bringing anything from myself into it. I just wanted to allow them space to do that. But yeah, I did think that it would change the conversation.
That's sad to me, if I'm just going to be honest. Like that you want to talk about Jesus, but you have to hide certain aspects of where that comes from for you, because the people that you're wanting to have the conversation with will at that point not want to talk to you about Jesus. Or at that point, they're probably trying to share Jesus with you, the correct Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So that being the case then, when we synthesize all of this together, you're still online doing apologetics. You're still desiring to in the spirit of Ammon, protect the flock. So then what are you trying to accomplish as you're defending the faith if it's not going for the takedown?
Yeah. So part of our hopes, I would say, is to build bridges across different faith lines.
For what purpose?
For the purpose of, I guess, to defend the flock. I mean, you have young people who are Latter-day Saints who open up their phone, and if they see a video about us, it's likely negative and, from our perspective, misrepresentative. And so we want to stop the misrepresentation. We want to stop the lies. We want to stop the mockery that's happening. And there's really only one way to do that, which is to speak up and to represent ourselves.
Also, we actually see ourselves as on the same side. And I know that's maybe another controversial statement, but we consider you as part of the team. And we actually do just want to build, we want people to come closer to Jesus Christ. And if they do that through Protestantism, great. We think that covenants are something that is necessary, but that's wonderful. And I can look at your faith and say that it's something beautiful. And you can have a genuine relationship with Jesus Christ, and we can really admire that and appreciate that.
So what I'm hearing you say then is you're not just online protecting the flock because you want to take down evangelicals. You're actually wanting to do what you can to reconstruct perceptions about the LDS church that might get in the way to more productive conversations.
Yeah, one way we've said it in the past is that we've abdicated the internet to our opponents for too long, and we would like to control the narrative of who we are and what we believe, rather than let our opponents define that for us.
Yeah, and I do get the frustration of being lumped into a misrepresent, like something that I don't identify with. All doctrine aside or history aside, I don't like that people think that all Protestant evangelicals are holding signs with flames on them screaming at your kids walking into General Conference.
And there's hands and people burning in the picture.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, guys.
Like, not only, I mean, clearly that's not me, but there's a lot of people who don't believe me. It's like, no, you all are like that. Like, those people are strange to us. We actually don't like, in fact, I would even say that behind closed doors, most Protestants are looking at those people being like, they need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Now, if they feel within their conviction that that is their way to like get the attention of Latter-day Saints, like, okay, but that is actually not representative of Protestant evangelicals for the most part. Interestingly enough, when I talk to Latter-day Saints all the time, like, oh yeah, I'm a returned missionary. Where'd you serve? Georgia. I'm like, ooh, Tennessee. Ugh, Florida. I'm like, it was pretty terrible, huh? And they're like, no, actually it was great. Like, Southerners treated us great. I would expect in the Bible Belt for them to be just like, no, obviously you're going to run across the hostility here and there. But they said most evangelicals were like super awesome to them, and they would have like really great Christ-centered conversations. So I think that's the other thing that I like what you're doing there, to kind of reconstruct certain perceptions online. Because this isn't about eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth type of thing.
Right.
That's not your rebellion. You know, I get that that's not even in the same ballpark. But I think most people are wanting to have level-headed, open conversations where the YouTube algorithm is showing us thumbnails that would say something otherwise.
Yeah.
Mormons exposed, right? Or like, the Trinity is incomprehensible. Like, however you...
Well, and so I would just say, because of this, like, in interfaith conversations, there's so much tension in the room that naturally arises when, not always, but when we carry in certain ideas about the other group, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I carry in only the negative things that I feel or know about an evangelical or an experience that I've had, then like that tension is so high in the room. And if the only thing you've heard about us is that like we just want to go to Kolob and have all of our wives, right? Like, we're going to have a really strange interaction. Like, it's going to be weird. You know?
That's what I call talking past each other.
Yeah.
It's like, hello, you're over there, I'm over here. Like, you think I'm over there, but I'm actually standing right here.
Here I am. Yeah, and I think so often we talk right past each other. We have two conversations at the same time. Not actually hearing each other. But that's what I would say when in the content creation space, our interactions with evangelicals are the ones who have their own apologetics channels or care enough to comment on our videos. And certainly, I'm confident, doesn't represent the broader Protestant family.
Yeah.
And so I actually really do believe what you're saying. The majority of both of our faiths wants to at least be kind and friendly and good neighbors to each other.
Yeah.
But online, you don't actually see that represented very well.
You don't. So maybe we can punctuate the conversation like this then. I think one of the biggest mistakes that can be made in both directions is you coming in and telling me what I believe and why I'm wrong.
That doesn't work?
No, I can believe it. Or an evangelical coming and saying, this is what you believe and why you are wrong. This is why you're not a Christian. By the way, what's your name?
Yeah.
So rather than me trying to convince you that you're not a Christian, or an evangelical trying to convince you you're not a Christian, I'd like each of you to take the opportunity to convince me that you are.
Oh,
Yeah, I like that way more.
So
Yeah.
who wants to start?
Oh, I can start.
I'd totally put you guys on this.
No, that's great. That's an easy one. I would just start with, from a very young age, and as I've grown into an adult, have dedicated my entire life to Jesus Christ. I've made sacred promises with him that I literally will commit all of my time and my energy and my resources to him and to building his kingdom. And as I've done that in my life, I have been overwhelmed with joy and peace and fulfillment, that meaning that you were talking about earlier. I have been completely filled and satiated by the fruits of the Spirit, with experiences that compound on that give me touch points from God, that I'm with him. And as I commit my life to him, me and my wife, man, we're constantly checking in with each other. And our primary goal is to be with God and to be with Christ, to rear our children that they too will make that choice when they're of age to be able to choose that for themselves. And so I guess in one sentence, I'm a Christian. I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ because I've dedicated my whole life to him.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that.
No, that's the devil.
You're up.
No, that was beautiful. It's very simply put, there was a time in my life when I abandoned faith, and I lived in a manner not conducive to joy and peace, and I found myself very quickly in hell. And I hated my life and I hated myself, and through an experience I had with God, he brought light and hope back into my life, and he saved me. He rescued me. And that presence that has been in my life has pulled me towards him. And the more I follow that, the better my life gets. Not just better, the more light, the more joy, the more purpose and meaning my life takes on. And simply put, I follow Jesus because he saved me, and I think that qualifies me to be a Christian.
I love it. That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
This is the reason why I think that punctuates this conversation, is because whether we're clicking on a video on YouTube or opening the door to two guys in ties with name tags, rather than seeing those as an opportunity to get into like some project to rewire, reprogram someone, to just see the person first. Because everything I heard you describe was actually truly central to who you are. Not your doctrines or your beliefs or any of that stuff, but what you have experienced undeniably. And that's who you are as people. So rather than seeing each other as projects, seeing each other as people, I think is going to be really important. And I appreciate the contribution you guys are making to kind of change the landscape here, and that we can hopefully work together to keep doing that, so that, the way I look at it, we can remove any obstructions to Jesus, so he can be high and lifted up, because when he is, he draws all people unto himself. And I think that's central to my desire, and it sounds like that's central to yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah,
you guys are awesome.
Jeff.
Thanks for your conversation. Thanks for sharing with me what you're doing and why you're doing it, and tell people where they can interact with more of your content.
Yeah, so we're the Holy Rebellion. We're on anywhere you watch content, so YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the above, but the Holy Rebellion is where you'll find us.
Cool. All right, I'll put a link down in the description so you can interact with them more. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. You can support me on Patreon if you'd like, but if you don't want to, then just don't. But please do come back for more videos like this. And until next time, see you later, Saints.